Friday Night Stars, presented by WHATABURGER, is brought to you by Geico, 85 years of savings and service. Texas Lottery, play the Dallas Cowboys scratch ticket today. It's your ticket for a chance to win big. And by WHATABURGER. Stop on by WHATABURGER and try the patty melt today. It's an all-time favorite for a reason.
Can it be Thursday night again already? Well, yes, it can. It's time for another edition of Friday Night Stars. Bill Jones along with Kyle Youmans. We're inside the Globe Life studios here at the Star in Frisco, getting you set for yet another high school football weekend of games. Just 2 weeks left in the regular season. And we've said for the last month things are really getting good. Well, they have gotten good. And now we've not only have playoff positioning, but we got rivalries. We've got a little Christmas in the air with I've been wishing for Christmas.
Just trying to get a little cooler
trying
weather.
to get football weather here. But we've got some good football this week.
It really doesn't look like the football weather will arrive until we get into playoff time, which is, I guess, fitting for the biggest part of the season. But, man, these last 2 weeks of the year are crucial, and they're really going to try and figure out a lot of these programs on whether or not they are the real deal or if they are just a smokescreen at the moment.
Well, and then we're also trying to figure out at the Class 6A level who's going Division I, who's going Division II in the playoffs, and you have to have a mathematics degree or some degree beyond a journalism degree to figure that out. I've discovered that over the years. Let's start with our WHATABURGER Game of the Week, and you talk about rivalry matchups. Here's one of the best in the area. It's the Battle of the Axe. And how about the matchup this year? The unbeaten Fighting Farmers of Louisville against those Marauders from Marcus on Marcus home field, and Marcus coming on strong here of late with 4 straight wins.
Yeah, those 4 straight wins. They've only allowed more than 2 touchdowns in a game 3 times this year, and after the loss 17-14 against Flower Mound in Week 5, they have really relied heavily on their wide receiver duo. Dallas Dudley, Ashton Cozart have been really getting open at a legitimate pace throughout the course of the season, but they've also got the best defense that they've really played with in plenty of time, or in the last couple of years. This is going to be a really, really, really fun matchup. But how about the 8-0 Louisville Fighting Farmers? 35-plus points in 7 of their 8 wins so far. They beat you through the air with Ethan Terrell, over 1,600 yards, 13 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and then they beat you on the ground with a running back, Damian Martinez, over 1,000-yard and 16 scores this year. This is a really balanced Fighting Farmers attack, and this is probably the best battle for the Axe that we've seen in a decade.
Well, and you talk about Damian Martinez. Here's a guy listed at 5'10", 220 pounds. Most of the recruiting services have him in the top 100 running backs in the nation, committed to Oregon State, and coming off a 3-touchdown game and a 38-15 win over Coppell last week for Louisville. So doing it through the air and on the ground. And how about Armani Winfield for them as well, committed to Texas, the big wide receiver.
Yeah, they've got a lot of Division I talent throughout the program, and that's kind of what I was talking about with the balanced attack. We've seen it with every level of football, especially even with the Cowboys over the last couple of weeks and through their 5-1 start. If you're able to run the ball efficiently, it opens up the passing game, and Louisville has done that back and forth throughout the year so far.
All right, let's move on to the Gopher Warrior Bowl in Grand Prairie, and it's a battle of District 8-6A unbeatens as the Grand Prairie Gophers, one of the surprise teams in the state of Texas this year, take on the Arlington Martin Warriors. And what a game this is for Grand Prairie going up against Bob Wager's team.
Yeah, the Gophers have been digging deep. And by the way, probably the best logo in all of football, in my opinion, on that right-hand side of your screen. But they've also won 3 straight games by single digits against South Grand Prairie. They did it against Arlington Lamar and the Vikings, and then last week against Bowie. Drew Damper has really been the go-to guy. That running back on your screen there last week against Bowie, 20 carries, 238 yards, 3 touchdowns. Then the quarterback, Savion Reed, 17 carries, 176 on the ground, and 3 touchdowns as well. This is a talented Grand Prairie team. But have we been forgetting about Arlington Martin and what they bring to the table? Their only 2 losses this season against Lake Travis, against South Lake, and their scores over the last 4 games, Bill, 65, 56, 47, 67, or 68, I should say. They're looking to win these last two games, run the table in District 8 6A, and they've got a bunch of offensive weapons they can do so with.
Average margin of victory in district games for Martin, 46.3 points. Grand Prairie has only won its 5 district games by an average margin of victory of 6.8. The talent that Martin has on its defense. Let me read them off to you a little bit here. Cornerback Javian Toviano just got an offer from Ohio State. He's a junior 5-star prospect. Another 6-foot junior corner, Josiah Charles. Ernest Cooper, the fourth, a 6'4", 235-pound defensive end who's headed to Stanford. How about the sophomore athlete Tristan Biddle, who is already committed to Texas A&M, and Jim Schlossnagel to play baseball, a dual sport guy, and the list goes on. And they lost Travell Johnson to hip surgery, and he's committed to Texas, who was a prime linebacker on their team. All right, let's move on to Ennis at Royce City. Here is a battle of not only district unbeatens, but on the season. They are both 8-0. I love Sam Harrell at Ennis, the legendary coach who has come back from multiple sclerosis. It is now in his 4th year at Ennis after coming back.
Yeah, and his second stint has been just as successful as the first one to this point. I mean, Ennis, the traditional power with Coach Harrell. When these two teams met last year, Ennis put up 71 points. 71-14 was the final score. That was a season high for Ennis in what was a really good year in 2020. They haven't lost a regular season game since 2019. They've been outscoring opponents 214-56 over the last 5 weeks of the season. Really good Ennis squad, but watch out for Royce City and Coach Petroff. I actually was under Coach Petroff during my time when he was at Midway. He was an assistant coach with Terry Gamble. He then took the job up at Royce City. He's been up there for a while, but he has those guys rolling. They've won 11 of their last 13 following that 71-point outing from Ennis last season. And if you don't know the name, Spring Kenneth, he's their junior quarterback. You need to know it. 1,400 yards, 14 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. It's a really good Royce City squad, but they've got a test this week in Ennis.
And how about last week's game? They beat Crandall 65-63, and wide receiver Jonah Roberson had 10 catches for 255 yards and 4 touchdowns. His older brother, Roderick Roberson, plays for the SMU Mustangs. All right, other notable games around the area as we look around. How about South Oak Cliff and Dallas Kimball? A battle of unbeatens. Justin Northwest against Fort Worth Brewer and Weatherford North Crowley. Which do you like off this list?
I want to take Northwest and Fort Worth Brewer. These are both programs that over the last couple of years have not been up to their standard. Brewer undefeated at home this year. They've won 6 straight games, and they also have 6 different rushers that have totaled 100 yards on the season. 3 of those have gone over 300 rushing yards on the campaign. And then Northwest, man, they win it through the air. Quarterback Jake Strong, over 1,800 yards. He's one of the area's leading passers, 23 touchdowns, and their only loss this year was to Grapevine. They've also put up 40-plus points in their last 4 games.
And I mentioned South Oak Cliff against Kimball, a battle of unbeatens. In district play, they are unbeaten. They both have one non-district loss. But South Oak Cliff, average margin of victory. That's my big calling card this week. Average margin of victory. 55.8 points for SOC. Well, Kimball has 2 big wins over Seagoville and Hillcrest. Beat Seagoville 20-14 and Hillcrest 26-24. Some great games around the area. We hope you can get out to some either tonight or on Friday night. And when we come back, hey, you can just come right here to the Star in Frisco, Ford Center, and check out some high school action. We preview that when we come back in just a moment.
This segment was brought to you by WHATABURGER. Order online using the app or at whataburger.com for curbside pickup from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. or delivery. This segment is brought to you by Texas Lottery. Play the Dallas Cowboys scratch ticket today. It's your ticket for a chance to win big.
Time for our weekly segment here on Friday Night Stars, the Showdown at the Star. 2 for the price of 1 once again this week. We start with the Friday Night Showdown at the Star. It's Reedy versus Centennial as we feature these Frisco ISD schools. Quarterback A.J. Padgett leading Reedy. Running back Harry Stewart for Centennial. And we are just moments away from Kyle Youmans marching from the Globe Life Studio down the Nike Star Walk into Ford Center. And you know he'll get a welcome from the crowd there that's already gathering to watch Lovejoy take on Lebanon Trail High School.
Yeah, this is a Lovejoy team that is really on top of the world right now with Coach Evans and company. I mean, 8-0 to start the year. They had a big win last week, but Lebanon Trail still trying to get off the ground a little bit. They haven't won since the opening week of the year, and of course with Lovejoy on the docket tonight, things don't get any easier for the Blazers, but that doesn't mean that there's still a little bit more for Coach Sod Jackson and company to play for.
What we've learned is that our JV kids coming up to varsity for the first time, finding out the movie is called Friday Night Lights and not Thursday Night Lights, and it's a big difference on the game tempo. We expect to get a few lumps and bruises we're taking right now, but we're hoping our kids are growing through all of this and be better for this in the future.
Lebanon Trail is riding a 7-game losing streak, their longest since their inaugural season in 2018, but they're starting to find their strength.
I think the true strength this year, I think it's our effort and just teamwork. I think we work together well, hold each other accountable, and we just want to keep going this season.
The offense has put up at least 24 points in their last 2 outings, but with the undefeated Lovejoy Leopards on the horizon this week, Coach Sod Jackson's staff has been challenged with building toward the future despite what has been a disappointing year.
Forget about yesterday and focus on today and tomorrow. We can't change what has happened. At the end of the day, we're disappointed in how the season has been so far, but our kids are still out here working hard, and we're working hard as coaches, and we're just trying to move the needle and get better every day.
Lebanon Trail returned just 18 players out of the entire roster from a 6-win team in 2020. And this is a squad that, at least at the moment, Bill, through their first 7 games or 8 games of the year, 55% of their starters have been underclassmen. So still a long way to go, but ultimately there's a lot of potential with that Blazers program.
Well, and there's not just potential with the Lovejoy program. They're doing it now. They did it last year. They went deep in the playoffs. And this year, I've said all along that I think they've got a chance to win it all this year. They had to replace a great quarterback in R.J. Rucker, who walked on at Oklahoma's 3rd string right now behind Caleb Williams, and Spencer Rattler might be moving up. We'll see what happens there. But Alexander Franklin has done a great job of filling in this year.
Yeah, that entire squad is just so strong. They have so many weapons on the outside that they can throw the football to a little bit. And then that offensive line has been the calling card each of the last 2 years. You mentioned the deep playoff run that they had a year ago that came up just short. It was the offensive line that really paved the way. They're going to continue to do that. They did it last week against a really good Frisco Raccoons front 7. They're going to do that once they get into the playoffs as well.
All right, and you'll be calling that game tonight. Tomorrow night, you're calling a private school matchup that is probably the best in the state of Texas, and we preview that one. Take a trip to Parish Episcopal when we come back here on Friday Night Stars.
This segment was brought to you by Texas Lottery. Play the Dallas Cowboys scratch ticket today. It's your ticket for a chance to win big. This segment is brought to you by WHATABURGER. Stop on by WHATABURGER and try the patty melt today. It's an all-time favorite for a reason.
Welcome back to Friday Night Stars. The game of the week in the private school ranks has Parish Episcopal hosting Fort Worth Nolan. It's a rematch of last year's TAPS Division I state championship game that Parish won 42-28. This year, Parish looking to march its way to a 3rd straight state championship game. The Panthers have reeled off 6 straight wins. Fort Worth Nolan staggered a bit, forfeiting 3 games due to using ineligible players. That caused Nolan to let go of their head coach and athletic director 2 weeks ago. Parish led by running back Andrew Paul, racking up 989 yards rushing this season. The only blemish for Parish this season, a 2-point loss in the 2nd week of the season.
Pretty good. It would be definitely better if we were undefeated, but pretty good right now in district, undefeated there. Going into our next game, ready, prepared.
We lost early in the season, but I think that taught us a valuable lesson. So we bounced back, and we really had a great district play.
I'm happy with where we are. We've got all our goals in front of us, but these next 2 games are going to be pretty telling for how we end up and whether we accomplish our goals or not.
Very confident. I mean, if you didn't have any confidence, what's the point of even thinking about having a goal? So I think we have a great team here, and I think we can do great things and win state for 3 times in a row.
What a matchup this should be. Nolan against Parish Episcopal, and Kyle Youmans will be calling this on the NFHS network.
Game On Sports
Game
Network.
On Sports Network. All right, so tune in tomorrow night for that. And I can't wait to watch Sawyer Anderson, the quarterback.
And, you know, Coach Novikov earlier this season, when talking about Sawyer Anderson, a freshman quarterback, I can't even say true freshman quarterback because he is that much of a nuance in this program. He's said to be better than Preston Stone was at this point in his career, and he has certainly thrown the football around exceptionally well. This is a team that had to replace Preston Stone, who is now at SMU and backing up Tanner Mordecai, who's having a fantastic season down the road. But this Parish offense has been led by Andrew Paul, and then the defense by that front seven. Two different aspects, two different units that have been leading this Parish Panther squad, as opposed to what you've seen in the past for Coach Daniel Novikov's squad. Really good squad. They think they are poised again to make a deep run and make a third straight state championship appearance.
Sawyer Anderson, the last couple of weeks, has thrown 10 touchdown passes. The last 2 games, he is the grandson of Donnie Anderson, the former Green Bay Packer great. And for you Red Raiders out there, of course, Donnie Anderson played at Texas Tech. So this new coach that Texas Tech gets, I would put Sawyer Anderson, the freshman from Parish Episcopal, right at the top of my recruiting list, and maybe he'll follow in granddad's steps to Texas Tech, and he could set up your program.
Yeah,
you got to wait 3 years for it.
I was about to say, you got to wait till 2024 until that even happens as a freshman.
Yeah, 2025, actually.
Yeah, there's a lot of time.
Unless he opts out.
Exactly. Maybe there's a way to do that.
Now.
NIL is certainly a part of that. But you're right. I mean, this is such a talented Parish squad, and they've got a lot of lineage there and a lot of history with that program, especially since Novikov showed up.
All right, up next, how could Parish Episcopal not be on Kyle Youmans' power programs this week? Well, maybe they are. We find out next on Friday Night Stars. Friday Night Stars continues now with our power programs. Who does Kyle Youmans, what 3 squads does he have at the top of his power program list this week?
Well, I'm going to go with programs keeping the tradition alive. There are only 3 schools in North Texas that have won more than 7 titles, or 8 or more titles, and these are the 3: Aledo, Southlake, Salina, and they are combined 23-1 at the moment. Aledo, of course, with 10 state titles, the most across the state of Texas. Southlake and the Carroll Dragons continuing their dominance at the 6A level. And then Salina, who's had a really nice season. Their only loss was to Argyle, who at least over the last couple of decades has been a powerhouse up here in the DFW Metroplex as well. So those are my 3 power programs this week. What do you have?
All right, you're going legendary programs, and I'm going legendary head coaches. I'm going with Reginald Sample's Duncanville Panthers. They just lost the season opener to Mater Dei from California. They're 6-1, 5-0 overall. How many wins does Samples have in his career? He has over 300 wins in his career. Highland Park, 7-1, 4-0 in district play. Randy Allen, 420 career wins. Their only loss this year in the season opener against Southlake Carroll. And Ennis, the Ennis Lions of head coach Sam Harrell, are 8-0, 5-0 in district play. Sam Harrell, 223 wins in 24 years as a head coach. And what he has done at Ennis here in the last 3 years, he has gone 29-3, including this year, after going 5-5 his first year back after battling multiple sclerosis back in 2018. So he was out for like 7 or 8 years and then comes back, and he's got that Ennis program back up playing at the same kind of level they were when his sons were quarterbacking, of course, with Graham Harrell and Clark Harrell back in the day.
Yeah, that is a really impressive feat from his part. But I know you mentioned a lot of wins there. Did you add them all up? Was there a combined total of wins there from mathematician Bill Jones?
Okay, a combined total 720. What's 721 plus 223? That is 944 combined wins. We're working on 1,000 wins for those 3 head coaches, Samples, Allen, and Harrell. The Landry Award watch list when we come back here on Friday Night Stars.
Friday Night Stars, presented by WHATABURGER, was brought to you by Geico, 85 years of savings and service. Texas Lottery, Play the Dallas Cowboys scratch ticket today. It's your ticket for a chance to win big. And by WHATABURGER. Order online using the app or at WHATABURGER.com for curbside pickup from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. or delivery.
We've had a couple of wide receivers win the Landry Award in the past. A couple of years ago, it was Jackson Smith and Jigba, and we had Jake Oliver back in the day. Alito, the wide receiver, won it last year, and he's at Alabama now. How about the list this year, Kyle Youmans? These are guys that are up there topping the charts with nearly 1,000 yards receiving this year.
Yeah, they're right up there. And, of course, now that we're into week 10 of the season, that means if they do hit 1,000 yards, they're averaging right around that 100 yards per game mark. And anytime you can put up triple digits at the wide receiver position, you're doing something good. Crandall's Luke Moffitt is the one that sticks out to me. He has put up some massive numbers throughout the season. I really like what Walker Mulkey does, adding to that Flower Mound Jags offense, and adds a completely new element there.
And Grayson Harris from Ennis, only a freshman on that list. Moffitt, by the way, had 17 catches last week in a 65-63 loss to Royce City. For Kyle Youmans, I'm Bill Jones. That does it for Friday Night Stars. Now go call your game, Kyle.